Before Google, searching the internet was an act of faith. You'd type words into AltaVista or InfoSeek, then click search and hope that somewhere in the hundreds of irrelevant results was the thing you actually wanted. Most of the time, it wasn't. By 1998, search engines had become so polluted with spam and so poor at understanding relevance that most people had given up on them entirely. Especially internet giants like Yahoo and AOL, who were busy building portals, digital kingdoms designed to keep users inside their walls. Portals were the opposite of search engines. Instead of sending you out to find information across the web, they brought everything to you. Email and weather, stock quotes, chat rooms, and horoscopes. Because the business model at the time was based on banner ads, the goal was stickiness, making search no more than a necessary evil, sending users away from the portal and the ads within. Yet in the search logs of these broken engines lay something extraordinary, a database of intentions. Millions of people typing exactly what they wanted, needed, and feared into a box. A real-time stream of human intent, worth billions, if anyone had bothered to look. Part 1. The Early Web. The creation of the World Wide Web and its explosive growth brought about a singular problem. Like someone dumping thousands of documents on the floor, finding anything specific was nearly impossible. The earliest search engines could only index the titles of web, not their contents. A little bit like trying to judge books by their covers. They missed most of what was available online. And it wasn't until 1994 that WebCrawler became the first search engine to index the full text of websites. However, WebCrawler had two big limitations. It could only index a tiny fraction of the expanding web, and it had no way to rank quality pages from random garbage. To understand how search engines eventually overcame these early challenges, it helps to look at how they're built. They consist of three main parts: the crawler, the index, and the query processor. Crawlers find websites by jumping through links. The index is a massive database of those pages. And finally, the query processor checks the user's search terms and returns a list of results instantaneously. At the time, the ranking system was primitive, usually counting how many times a word appeared on each page. Spammers quickly learned how to game the system by stuffing pages with popular keywords. Yet major internet companies didn't see this as a critical problem, because better search results would encourage users to leave their sites more quickly. The real action was in e-commerce, content, and communication tools. In 1994, Stanford students Jerry Yang and David Philo created Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web, a simple list of interesting websites that evolved into Yahoo. As the list expanded, they organized it into categories like arts, science, and business, transforming it into the web's first major directory. Yahoo thrived because it addressed a different problem from search engines. Early internet users didn't know what was online. They needed a guide. Yahoo's human-edited directory offered curated, reliable starting points for exploration. By 1996, Yahoo had gone public and pioneered the portal model, a one-stop hub for email, news, weather, and more. The idea was simple. The longer users stayed, the more ads could be sold. It was the television model transplanted to the internet. This strategy made Yahoo the early internet's defining gateway, and a template for countless imitators. The breakthrough in web search came from an unlikely source: Digital Equipment Corporation, a struggling computer firm seeking attention. Researcher Louis Monnier proposed building a search engine to showcase DEC's new Alpha processor, whose 64-bit design could handle unprecedented amounts of memory and data. Monnier's project became Alta Vista, launched in December 1995, with an index of 16 million documents, the largest web database ever built at the time. It quickly exploded in popularity, handling 300,000 queries its first day and billions within a year. AltaVista wasn't just massive, It was technically superior. Monnier had solved key challenges in scaling web crawls, processing multiple languages, and delivering fast, accurate results. Yet DEC failed to grasp its potential. As Monnier later lamented, the company viewed AltaVista merely as a promotional tool to sell servers, not as a business in of itself. This created an extraordinary opportunity. By focusing on features, commerce, and advertising, the portals had abandoned the very problem that brought users to the internet in the first place: finding information. The database of intentions was growing richer every day, but no one was mining it properly. The door was wide open for someone who understood that search wasn't a feature. It was the foundation upon which the entire internet economy would be built. Part 2. Google is born. Larry Page arrived at Stanford in the fall of 1995 with an inventor's ambition and an engineer's precision. The computer science program was the perfect incubator for such dreams. The university had spawned Hewlett-Packard, Yahoo, and a number of other successful tech ventures. The boundary between academic research and commercial enterprise was deliberately porous. Students came to Stanford not just for education, but for the dream of building the next big thing. Page met Sergey Brin during a campus tour for prospective students. Brin, a second-year PhD student, had volunteered to show a group around San Francisco. The two argued the entire day about urban planning, architecture, everything. Page found Brin obnoxious, with his strong opinions clashing against his own convictions. Yet despite their constant sparring, or perhaps because of it, Page chose Stanford. When he arrived on campus, Page needed a thesis topic. His advisor encouraged him to explore the World Wide Web. Page became fascinated with the web structure as a mathematical graph, nodes connected by links. But he noticed something odd. While it was trivial to follow links forward, it was nearly impossible to follow them backward. You couldn't easily see who was linking to a given page. Page's insight was to view the web through the lens of academic publishing. In academia, the importance of a paper is measured largely by how many other papers cite it. Moreover, not all citations are equal. Being cited by a Nobel laureate carries more weight than being cited by a graduate student. The web, Page realized, worked the same way. Every link was essentially a citation, a vote of confidence from one page to another. Page called his project Backrub, and it required crawling the entire web to map all the backward links. He had to beg and borrow computer equipment from all over campus, turning his dorm room into a server farm. Sergey Brin, drawn to the mathematical challenge, joined him. Together, they developed the PageRank algorithm, which calculated the importance of a web page based on the importance of the pages linking to it. Brin's mathematical prowess proved crucial. The son of a Soviet mathematician who had emigrated when Sergey was 6, Brin had been a math prodigy from an early age. He solved the recursion problem using techniques from linear algebra, treating the entire web as a massive matrix. By early 1997, Backrub was consuming nearly half of Stanford's entire network bandwidth. Page and Brin had crawled 24 million pages and cataloged 100 million links. But they hadn't set out to build a search engine. They were just trying to understand the web's link structure. It was only when they started using Backrub to find pages that they realized they had stumbled onto something revolutionary. Traditional search engines ranked pages primarily by how many times search terms appeared on the page, making them easy to spam. But PageRank provided an independent measure of importance that was much harder to game. The results were so much better than existing search engines that Page and Brin knew they had to pursue it. They renamed their system Google, a play on Google, the number 1 followed by 100 zeros. In August 1996, they made an early version available on the Stanford website. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. By 1998, Google was serving 10,000 queries a day from their makeshift server room, with growth doubling every few months. But success brought problems. Stanford's administrators were getting complaints from website owners. The project was consuming enormous resources. Page and Brin were supposed to be working on their PhDs, not running a startup. They tried to sell their technology to existing search companies such as Yahoo, Excite, and AltaVista, the asking price being relatively modest, around $1 million, but every company turned them down. The portals were focused on keeping users on their sites, not sending them away with better search results. By summer 1998, it was clear that if Google was going to become a business, Page and Brin would have to do it themselves. The breakthrough came during a meeting with Andy Bechtolsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems. After a quick demo on a laptop, Bechtolsheim said, "Well, I don't want to waste time. I'm sure it'll help you guys if I just write a check." Minutes later, they had a check for $100,000 made out to Google Incorporated, a company that didn't yet exist. To celebrate the funding, they went to Burger King. They incorporated Google on September 7, 1998, with Page as CEO and Brin as president. Their first office was a spare room in a house in Menlo Park, accessed through the garage door. More funding followed quickly. By spring 1999, they had raised $25 million from Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia Capital, an unprecedented situation where two rival top-tier firms agreed to invest together. By late 1999, Google had nearly 40 employees, most of them engineers. Their search engine was serving millions of queries a day. The technology was clearly superior to anything else available. There was just one problem. They weren't making money. Page and Brin had always been suspicious of advertising. In their original academic paper about Google, they had written that advertising-funded search engines would be inherently biased towards the advertisers and away from the needs of the consumers. The company was burning through more than $500,000 a month. Google tried selling search technology to enterprise customers and licensing deals with other websites, but the revenue was modest and slow to materialize. By early 2000, the dot-com bubble was beginning to deflate. Companies that had seemed invincible were suddenly struggling. Google needed to find a sustainable business model, and fast. The answer, when it came, would transform not just Google, but the entire internet economy. But it would require Page and Brin to overcome their deepest reservations about mixing search with commerce. Part 3. Advertising. The story of Google's business model cannot be told without Bill Gross. A serial entrepreneur, Gross didn't invent search, but he invented the way search makes money, and he did it before Google even existed as a company. Gross's insight came from observing the internet economy of the late 1990s. Portal sites like Yahoo were selling banner advertisements for millions of dollars, but advertisers had no idea if those ads actually worked. Meanwhile, e-commerce sites were desperate for traffic, paying huge sums for placement on portal homepages, hoping some fraction of visitors would convert into customers. But most of this traffic was worthless. People who had no interest in what the sites were selling. Gross realized there was a massive inefficiency. Advertisers were paying for quantity of traffic, not quality. But search was different. When someone typed digital camera into a search engine, they were declaring their intent. That kind of targeted traffic was worth far more than random visitors from a portal homepage. GoTo.com launched in June 1998 with a radical proposition. Search results would be ranked by how much advertisers were willing to pay per click. The highest bidder for digital camera would appear first, the second highest bidder second, and so on. The tech press hated it. GoTo was polluting search with commerce, they said. But Gross didn't care about the press. He cared about whether it worked, and it worked brilliantly. Gross priced clicks at just 1 penny each, far below what advertisers were paying elsewhere for traffic. He was actually losing money on every click, but he believed that as advertisers saw the value of targeted traffic, they would bid prices up. He was right. Within 6 months, several keywords were selling for over $1 per click. By 2001, GoTo, eventually renamed Overture, was generating hundreds of millions in revenue and was solidly profitable. Google watched Overture's success with a mixture of admiration and disdain. The paid search model clearly worked, but Page and Brin believed Overture had implemented it wrong. Mixing paid and organic results was deceptive. Giving the top position to the highest bidder, regardless of relevance, was bad for users. In October 2000, Google launched AdWords, a self-service advertising system where anyone could buy text ads in minutes. The ads appeared on the right side of search results, clearly marked as sponsored links. Initially, advertisers still paid for impressions, not clicks. It generated some revenue, but not enough. Then, in March 2000, the Nasdaq crashed. The dot-com bubble burst. Technology stocks plummeted. The advertising market became nearly impossible. Google needed a sustainable business model more urgently than ever. The breakthrough came in February 2002, when Google relaunched AdWords with two crucial innovations. First, they adopted the pay-per-click model, charging advertisers only when someone clicked. Second, and more importantly, they introduced Quality Score. Instead of ranking ads purely by bid price, Google ranked them by a combination of bid price and predicted click-through rate. An ad that users actually clicked on would rank higher than an ad with a higher bid but lower relevance. This elegant solution aligned everyone's incentives. Advertisers got better results because their ads were shown to people more likely to click. Users saw more relevant ads, and Google made more money because relevant ads generated more clicks. The results were immediate and dramatic. Revenue exploded from $86 million in 2001 to $439 million in 2002 to nearly $1.5 billion in 2003. To understand why paid search became so valuable, consider the traditional marketing funnel. At the top, you have awareness, letting people know your product exists. Traditional advertising excels at awareness. A Super Bowl ad reaches 100 million people. But awareness is expensive and inefficient. You're paying to reach millions who might never buy from you. Search advertising works from the bottom up. It targets people who have already expressed intent by searching for something related to a product. Instead of trying to create demand, it captures the demand that already exists. Moreover, search advertising is measurable in ways traditional advertising could only dream of. As Google perfected its advertising system, an entire economy sprang up around search. Search engine optimization became a massive industry, with consultants charging thousands of dollars to help businesses rank higher in organic results. By early 2004, Google's transformation from research project to business colossus was complete. The company had grown to nearly 3,000 employees and was generating hundreds of millions in profits. But it remained private, its financials a closely guarded secret. The truth, when revealed in Google's IPO filing on April 29, 2004, exceeded even the most optimistic speculation. Google had generated almost $1 billion in revenue in 2003. With profit margins that made other tech companies look like lemonade stands. The company went public on August 19, 2004, at $85 per share. The stock immediately jumped to $100. Within months, it had doubled. Competitors like Yahoo and Microsoft took notice and scrambled to build businesses around paid search, but struggled to catch up. By 2005, Google had become the dominant player in search, with over 40% market share globally. The database of intentions, the stream of millions of queries revealing all of our desires, had become a profit engine of unprecedented efficiency. Every query was an opportunity to match intent with commerce. Google sat at the center of the exchange, taking a small percentage of each transaction, billions of times per day. What had started as a graduate student's thesis project had become the foundation of a new economy, one built not on controlling information, but on organizing it and connecting intention to fulfillment. Epilogue. For 2 decades after its IPO, Google seemed invincible. It expanded beyond search into email, maps, cloud computing, and much more. YouTube became the world's second largest search engine, and Alphabet's market capitalization soared past $2 trillion. But today, we stand at another inflection point. ChatGPT and AI systems offer a fundamentally different interface to knowledge, conversational. synthesized, direct. We don't wade through results, but instead simply ask and receive an answer. For many queries, it feels like magic again. It's a shift as profound as the leap from Yahoo's directory to Google's search box. Not just a better tool, but a different way of thinking about how people and information connect. Just Google it is no longer the reflexive answer it once was. Young users increasingly turn to TikTok for recommendations, to Reddit for authentic opinions, and to ChatGPT for explanations, each platform capturing a different piece of the puzzle. Google triumphed over the portals by understanding that success wasn't about keeping users inside a walled garden. It was about connecting them to the information they sought, wherever it lived. That insight transformed how we find information. The next revolution will transform how we understand it. The search, as always, continues. This was The Search by John Battelle, first published in 2005. Thank you for listening.